Hello again. I am well aware that not all Muslims are terrorists. Very few of them are. So what I'm about to say is not directed generally at followers of Islam, but concerns rather militant Islamists. In 2004, Al-Qaeda carried out bombings on trains near Madrid, which killed 193 people. In London, similar attacks the following year by Islamists took the lives of 52 innocent people. In 2015, 130 people were murdered in Paris by Islamist attackers. I could go on and on, listing the bombing of the pop concert in Manchester, various stabbing sprees, people driving trucks along pavements and killing people. But I think that most people get the point here. Fanatical Muslims have killed hundreds of people in Europe in recent years in the name of their religion. Here is a simple question. How many Muslims do you think have been killed in this country and the rest of Europe simply because they were Muslims? In Britain, the answer is 4 definitely and 1 possibly. And the picture is pretty much the same in the rest of Europe. Certainly we are not seeing hundreds of Muslims being slain simply for being Muslims. If there is a real danger of many people being killed, then judging by past history, that danger is that religiously motivated terrorists who are followers of Islam will launch attacks upon ordinary people in Europe who are likely to be either atheists, Jews or Christians. That's what we have seen in the past, and that's likely to be the pattern of any future religiously motivated massacres in Europe. The Guardian newspaper in Britain, though, reports as follows. Anti-racism officials across Europe have called on law enforcement agencies to remain alert for hate crimes against Muslims and spare no effort to protect them, in one of the first statements aimed at addressing a rise in Islamophobia amid the Israel-Hamas war. This is, of course, pure Alice in Wonderland. Let's pause for a moment while I ask viewers to consider who they think is more likely to be carrying out a massacre in Europe in the next month or two for purely religious reasons. Do they think that this is A, likely to be a group of atheists or Christians setting out deliberately to kill a bunch of Muslims? Or do they think it is B, more likely that a team of Islamists, perhaps acting out of sympathy for Hamas or Hezbollah, will launch an attack in Europe aimed at atheists, Christians or Jews? Seriously, going on past form, which of those 2 possibilities is statistically the more probable? There is something very fishy going on here, and it ties in with what we've seen lately in Ireland, where a savage attack by a Muslim caused the authorities to wring their hands about possible hate crimes against Muslims. The article in The Guardian, to which I give a link in the description to this video, continues thus. They called on national authorities to spare no effort to ensure the safety of Muslim communities, whether it is in places of worship, workplaces, schools or their homes, and urged public safety and law enforcement agencies to remain alert to incidents of hate crimes and hate-motivated violence against Muslims. Muslim communities have voiced concerns over rising hostilities in recent weeks. Well, what do you think those rising hostilities consisted of? It turns out that people have been writing horrid letters to mosques and Muslim organisations. Not blowing them up, mind, or carrying out random stabbing sprees against them, suicide bombs or anything of that sort, but sending unpleasant letters. This is all pretty grotesque. Looked at over the perspective of what has been happening for the last 20 years in Europe, the people at risk of being massacred due to religious intolerance are not Muslims at all, but Jews, Christians and atheists. We all know this, and yet because it is fashionable to feign concern over Islamophobia, We are being urged to forget this unpalatable reality and subscribe instead to a fantasy in which it is Muslims who are likely to be the victims of atrocious crimes. The really terrifying thing is that many liberals are actually buying into this strange and awfully distorted version of history, and instead of being concerned about the victims of Muslim attacks, are instead wringing their hands about the Muslims who might be the victims of attacks by members of other religions in Europe. This is truly bizarre, and the fact that more ordinary people are not calling out this madness tells me, not for the first time lately, that something is very wrong in Western Europe.